The human bit the alien dog girl, now her pack fears him. * Jason was alone. Again, the alien research station sat on a quiet moon far from Earth. It was cold, dark, and silent. No wind, no rain, no birds. Just metal walls and machines that hummed. All night, Jason didn't like silence. He liked noise, people talking, music playing, cars moving. But here, the only thing that moved was the shadow outside his window. He thought it was just his mind. Too many lonely nights can make you see things. But this time, the shadow growled. Jason jumped. He turned on his flashlight and looked around. Nothing. Just the empty hallway and the door to the lab. He laughed at himself. Maybe I need sleep, he said. He turned to go back to his room, but the growl came again, closer, louder. Jason froze. Then something jumped out of the dark. It knocked him to the ground. Fast, strong, like a wild animal. He saw teeth, glowing eyes, and long silver hair. The creature looked like a girl, but not human. She had sharp claws, pointed ears, and a tail. She looked half wolf, half woman, and she bit him. Jason screamed as her teeth sank into his shoulder. Pain shot through his body. She growled, holding him down. But something strange happened. Jason stopped struggling. His eyes locked with hers. He didn't feel fear anymore. He felt angry. He bit her back, hard, on her neck. The alien girl let out a small gasp. Her eyes went wide. Her body froze. She jumped off him like he was fire. She backed away, staring at him with pure shock. Jason sat up, holding his shoulder, blood dripping. What the hell are you? He asked. She didn't speak. She just touched the bite on her neck and looked at him like he had done something impossible. Then, without a word, she ran into the shadows and disappeared. Jason sat there for a moment, breathing hard. His heart was racing, but his mind was racing faster. What just happened? He got up slowly, looking around the hallway. Still no sound, still no people, just the memory of glowing eyes and sharp teeth. He checked his wound, deep, painful, but not deadly. He cleaned it up in the medroom and sat on the table, thinking, was that a dream? He whispered, but the bite marks were real, and so was the blood. Jason couldn't sleep that night. He kept the lights on. He kept a wrench beside his bed. He didn't know if she would come back. But deep inside, a strange feeling grew. Not fear, not anger, something else. She didn't kill him. She could have, but she didn't. And when he bit her back, she didn't fight. She ran. Why? The next day, Jason checked the cameras. Nothing. All the files were empty. Someone or something had wiped them. He looked at the bite mark on his shoulder. It didn't look normal anymore. The skin around it was glowing faintly blue. He touched it and felt a strange energy, like heat. He pulled his hand back quickly. What did she do to me? He whispered. Jason didn't know it yet, but that bite had started something ancient, something powerful, and the girl with the silver hair wasn't done with him. Not yet. That night, he heard the growl again. Outside his room, soft, slow, waiting. Jason didn't run. He stood up, heart pounding. This time, he wanted answers. And the girl, whatever she was coming back to give them. Jason didn't sleep the next night. He sat on the edge of his bed with the lights off. Wrench in one hand, flashlight in the other. The growl he heard last night still echoed in his ears. But this time, he wasn't afraid. He was waiting. Hours passed. Nothing, no sound, no shadow, no glowing eyes. He almost gave up. Almost. Then the air changed. Colder, sharper, like something had entered the room without opening the door. Jason stood slowly, holding the wrench tighter. His heart beat faster, but not from fear. He heard soft breathing behind him. He turned fast, flashlight on. There she was. The alien girl stood near the corner, eyes glowing again, tail twitching. But this time, she didn't growl. She didn't move. Jason didn't speak. He just stared. So did she, silent. Then she pointed to her neck, where he had bitten her. She touched the mark gently, like it meant something serious. Then she pointed at him. Jason frowned. I didn't mean to bite you, he said quietly. She tilted her head, confused. She stepped closer, slow and careful. Jason didn't move. She looked down at his shoulder, reached out, and touched the bite she gave him. Her hand was warm. Her fingers glowed a little where they touched his skin. Jason felt a pulse like his blood jumped inside his body. The girl's eyes widened. She whispered a word in her language. One Jason couldn't understand, but it sounded like shock, or fear, or maybe both. She pulled back quickly and looked at him again. Jason finally asked, "What are you?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pointed to herself, then at him. Then she drew a circle in the air with her finger. Jason didn't get it. But then she growled, not like before. Not angry. This one was softer, lower, more like a warning. Then, she did something strange. She dropped to one knee in front of him, head down, like she was showing respect or surrender. Jason blinked. What is this? She stood again and touched her chest. Then she touched his, and smiled. Just a little. Jason didn't know what that meant, but he felt it. Something had changed between them. Suddenly, the lights in the hallway blinked. The alarm on the base beeped once, then stopped. The girl turned fast, ears up, body alert. Jason heard it too, something heavy, moving outside. She looked back at him and said one word, clear and sharp, hide. Jason didn't move, but she pushed him toward the storage room, fast and strong. He ducked inside just as the door opened. He peeked through the crack. A tall shadow entered. Armored and armed, not human. The new alien had red eyes and a thick black suit. It scanned the room slowly. Step by step, the girl stood in the middle, calm. The two looked at each other for a moment, like old enemies. Then the armored one growled something, deep and rough. The girl growled back, louder. Jason didn't understand a word, but the meaning was clear. This was a warning. The soldier stepped forward. The girl stepped back. She grabbed something from her belt, small metal, glowing blue. She threw it on the ground, and smoke burst into the room. Jason coughed and closed his eyes. When he opened them again, both the girl and the soldier were gone. The smoke faded slowly. Jason stood up, coughing again. His shoulder ached. The bite pulsed harder now. What just happened? He whispered. He looked at the floor. There were claw marks where the girl had stood, and something else, a metal piece from the armored alien's glove. Jason picked it up. It was warm and had strange symbols on it. She had saved him, again. But why? And who was chasing her? Jason looked out the window, toward the black sky and the strange stars. He wasn't just a scientist anymore. Something bigger had started, and he was now a part of it. Jason didn't tell command. He thought about it, more than once. He even wrote the report, fingers hovering over the send button. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way she looked at him. Not like an enemy, not like a test subject, more like an equal. He threw the report into the trash and locked the door to the comms room. That night, he waited again. No lights, no sounds, no weapons, just a quiet room and a racing heart. He didn't know if she would return after what happened, but part of him hoped she would. He sat near the small glass window, staring at the stars. Then he heard it. Not a growl this time, not footsteps, a whisper. He turned and saw her already inside the room. Somehow, she stood by the door, head tilted. Jason jumped slightly. How do you keep doing that? He said, voice low. She smiled. The first real smile he had seen from her, small but clear. Jason noticed something different. Her clothes were torn, shoulder bleeding, and her breathing was heavy. She had fought someone or something. He stood up and walked toward her, slowly. She didn't move away. Are you okay? She didn't answer in words. Instead, she reached into a pouch and pulled out a small device. Round silver, blinking softly, she pressed it to her throat. A second later, her voice came out, still her voice, but the words were now English. Jason, she said. It was the first time she spoke his name. The sound of it from her lips gave him chills. He nodded, surprised. You can speak English. She pointed at the device, translator. Then she looked at him for a long moment. You bite me, she said, her eyes narrowing slightly. Jason raised his hands, half smiling. You bit me first. She didn't smile back this time. Instead, she walked closer and sat down on the floor, tail wrapping around her leg. You don't understand what that means, she said, voice quiet. No, Jason replied, sitting down across from her. I really don't. She looked up at him, eyes serious now. In my people's law, biting is not just a fight, it's a mark, a challenge, a bond. Jason blinked. A bond. She nodded. You bit back. That makes you not prey. Jason let out a slow breath. Okay, so what am I? She hesitated, like the words were heavy. Now you are chosen. He stared at her, confused. Chosen for what? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached toward his shoulder, where her bite had been. She touched the skin gently. It was glowing again, brighter this time. You carry it now, she whispered. My mark. Jason swallowed hard. He didn't know what that meant exactly, but the way she said it felt important. Then she leaned closer. You changed, since the bite, she said. You feel it. Jason nodded slowly. Yes, I feel stronger sometimes. My eyes, they see farther. I don't get tired. That will grow, she said, but it comes with risk. Jason looked into her eyes. What kind of risk? Her voice dropped, almost to a whisper. If you use the power too fast, your mind will break. Jason felt a chill run down his back. Before he could ask more, the lights in the room flickered. The girl's ears twitched. She stood up fast, looking toward the hallway. They found us, she said. Jason stood too. Who? She looked at him. My people. And then the door exploded. A wave of smoke and sound filled the room. Jason coughed, covered his eyes. When he opened them, red lights flashed, and tall shapes moved through the fog. Alien soldiers, with glowing weapons and metal armor. The girl grabbed Jason's arm. Run, she said, but she didn't wait. She pulled him with surprising strength, through a side door he didn't even know existed, down a narrow tunnel, through blinking lights and strange smells. They didn't stop until they reached a hidden chamber deep below the base. Jason was breathing hard. The girl wasn't. He looked at her. What do they want? She turned toward him, eyes glowing softly in the dark. They want me back, she said. Why? Her next words made him forget how to breathe. Because I broke the law of my kind. I gave power to a human. Jason stood frozen. Everything he thought he knew was falling apart, and now, nothing would ever be the same. The walls were alive, not breathing, not moving, but humming softly, strangely, like the metal itself was listening. Jason stood in the hidden room, heart thudding, his shirt was torn, his shoulders still glowing faintly. The alien girl, he had learned her name from the translator, walked slowly around the edges of the room, touching panels, checking the dark corners. This place wasn't part of the base. He was sure of it. It felt older, colder, more alien. How long has this been here? Jason asked. Rava didn't look at him. Before your kind built this station, she said, it was ours first. Jason's eyes swept over the strange marks on the wall, symbols that pulsed with a soft red light. He didn't understand any of it, but his body felt something, like heat under the skin, like a silent voice calling from deep inside the walls. I don't get it, Jason muttered. Why are they hunting you? Why do they care so much about one bite? Rava finally turned to him. She looked tired more than before, like she hadn't slept in days. But her voice was steady. I am not just a scout, she said. I am a carrier. Jason raised an eyebrow. Carrier of what? She pointed at his shoulder. Of that? Jason stepped back without meaning to. What did you give me? She paused before answering. We call it the Fanglight, she said. An ancient gift, from the first hunters of my kind. Jason shook his head. I didn't ask for it. No, she said. You earned it. Jason didn't know how to feel about that. He looked at his hand. Last night, he had crushed a steel pipe by accident. This morning, he had heard footsteps. In the hallway before the cameras showed anything, his body was changing. Fast. Rava stepped closer. In my world, biting back is rare, she said. Most fall or run. But you didn't. Jason met her eyes. I was just scared. She tilted her head. Fear is not weakness. The moment stretched. Quiet. Then a sound broke it, a low beep from a device on Rava's belt. She snatched it quickly, eyes narrowing. They're scanning again, she whispered. They're close. Jason looked toward the ceiling. What happens if they find us? Rava didn't answer. Instead, she pulled something out of the wall, a long blade, sharp and glowing with pale blue light. She held it out to him. Jason stared. What do you want me to do with that? She looked him straight in the eye. Survive. Before Jason could argue, the wall behind them shook, dust falling, panels rattling. Then a voice rang through the chamber, deep and metallic. Return the carrier. Jason backed up. Rava stood, tall blade in one hand, tail flicking sharply. I won't go back, she said aloud, voice rising. Not now. The wall cracked open. 3 armored aliens stepped through, weapons ready. One pointed at Jason. Human. Step away from the infected. Jason gripped the blade. I'm not infected, he said, surprising even himself. She gave me something. I didn't ask for it, but I'm not giving it up either. The lead alien took a step forward. Then you are marked for death. Jason's skin began to glow, bright blue veins under his arms. Up his neck he felt the pressure rise in his chest. A growl escaped his mouth before he could stop it. Rava looked at him. You feel it now, she said. It's waking. Jason didn't understand what it was, but when the alien raised his weapon and fired, Jason moved faster than he thought possible. He dodged left, the beam scorching the floor. Then, with one swing, the glowing blade in his hand sliced through the alien's gun. The others stepped back, shocked. Jason stood straight, breathing hard, not scared now, not confused, just ready. One of the aliens turned to Rava. You broke the chain. You gave the Fanglight to an outsider. Rava raised her chin. I chose him. The alien's helmet hissed. Then both of you must die. Jason smiled without meaning to. Try it. Jason couldn't feel his heartbeat anymore. It wasn't gone. It had changed. The thumping in his chest was now slow, steady, powerful, like the beat of a drum far underground. His hands were glowing, not just at the bite mark. Now the light crawled up his arms, tracing the veins with pale blue fire. The aliens stared, silent, unsure, even their weapons lowered for a moment. Jason stood between Rava and the soldiers. His fingers gripped the energy blade tighter. But he wasn't just holding a weapon. He was holding something bigger, something ancient. Rava's voice broke the silence, calm but sharp. The Fanglight has chosen him. The lead alien didn't. Move. You were warned, he said, his voice deep like thunder behind a mask. No outsider can carry it, not without falling. Jason looked back at Rava. Falling, he asked. What does that mean? Her eyes dropped for a moment. If your mind breaks, she whispered, you stop being human. Jason almost laughed. He didn't feel human right now. He felt like lightning trapped in skin. But before he could answer, the lead alien raised a glowing baton and pointed it at Jason's chest. We end this now. They rushed forward, all 3 at once. Jason didn't move. The Fanglight moved for him. In a blink, he twisted low, sweeping the blade across the metal floor, sending sparks into the air. One alien fell with a broken leg. Screaming, another fired his weapon, but Jason dodged again, too fast, too smooth. He could see their attacks before they happened, not with his eyes, with something else. Rava joined the fight, claws out, tail spinning like a whip. Together, they pushed the soldiers back through the broken wall, down into the tunnels, out of the hidden chamber. The enemy retreated but not far. Jason stood there, chest rising and falling, steam rising from his arms. He dropped the blade, it was burning hot now. He looked down at his hands, shaking. I couldn't stop, he said. I felt like something else took control. Rava walked to him slowly. She didn't look proud, she looked afraid. You burned through too much, she said. You awakened it too fast. Jason stumbled back. His head was pounding now. Each breath felt like fire in his lungs. The glow on his skin flickered like a dying light. He fell to one knee. I can't breathe. Rava caught him before he collapsed. Jason, look at me, she said, gripping his shoulders. You must stay you. Do you hear me? Jason's eyes were distant, lost in a blur of memory and noise. Voices in a language he didn't know echoed in his mind. Flashes of places he had never been, huge trees, glowing rivers, stars that moved like birds. He was seeing her memories. Rava leaned closer, her forehead against his. I will not let them take you, she whispered. You are mine now. The glow in Jason's chest dimmed, then steadied. He gasped and blinked hard. His hands still burned, but he could think again. He looked up at her. Thank you, he said, weakly. She didn't smile. She simply stood and pulled him to his feet. We need to move, she said. There's one more who's coming, the real hunter. Jason didn't ask questions. He followed her into the dark, into tunnels even she had never used, where the walls were cracked and ancient, where the fanglight had once slept in silence for 1,000 years, and now, because of a bite, it was awake again. The sky cracked open with a silent flash, not thunder, not lightning, just light, cold and white. Above, the forest, a shadow moved between the clouds, long, sharp, metallic. It didn't land with sound, it landed with silence. Eli saw it first from the stone ridge, a ship with no wings, no lights, just smooth black armor. It settled like a predator crouching, waiting to strike. Rue stepped beside him, her fur bristling. She growled deep in her chest, a sound he had never heard from her before. She was afraid, but not for herself. She was afraid for him. More shapes dropped from the ship's side stall and thin, not like Rue's kind. They moved like smoke, their bodies wrapped in smooth black armor, their faces hidden behind metal masks, round and blank. They didn't speak, they just walked, slow and straight, like they already knew they would win. Eli turned to Rue. Who are they? Rue said one word, voice low, firin'. It tasted bitter even in her mouth. Hunters, Eli asked. She shook her head. Collectors. She pointed to the mark on Eli's arm. The one the elder had given, the one that came with the title. They come for the mark. Eli's heart pounded. It was never just about the bite. Someone watching from above, always, and now, they had come down. The elder barked commands. Others in the tribe moved quickly, not panicked, but ready. Weapons were passed. Ancient tools pulled from deep stone vaults, not tech, not guns, but living weapons, blades that grew from vines, shields made of hardened bone that moved like skin. Rue handed Eli a new staff, longer than the last, with sharp edges and glowing roots at the base. This is for you now, she said. Eli took it, felt the weight, felt something inside, it moved, like breath. This was never supposed to be war, he said. Rue looked toward the black ship, eyes narrow. For them, it never stopped. Suddenly, a loud sound split the air, not a gun, not a blast, a signal. The firemen were calling, but not to speak, to demand. One of them stepped forward, hands raised, mask shining with blue light. A voice came from the mask, smooth and cold, not natural. Send out the marked one, it said. Do so, and the rest will live. Silence followed, heavy and cold. Rue stepped forward before Eli could move. She bared her teeth, claws out, and shouted in her language, full of fire. The tribe behind her roared in answer. They would not give him up. The voice came again, louder, sharper. Send out the marked one. Eli stepped beside Rue's, staff in hand. He didn't raise it, not yet. He just stared at the masked figure, then spoke. Come and get me. There was a pause. Then the mask dimmed. The firemen moved, fast, spreading out, weapons drawn, long staffs that hissed with dark energy. The fight began without a scream, without warning. The first blow came from the Treza spear thrown by one of Rue's warriors, hitting a fireman in the chest. It dropped, twitched, then melted into ash. The rest kept coming. Eli fought beside Rue, staff swinging, strikes landing, blocks timed by instinct. For the first time, he didn't feel like a human on an alien world. He felt like something more. He had learned their movements, their rhythms, their breath, and they had learned his. The battle was wild but not messy. It was music, dark and fast. The firemen fought without fear, without words, but they didn't understand the forest. They didn't understand the bond. Rue and Eli moved like one shadow, one force. He struck low, she struck high. She leaped from tree to tree. He held the line below. Together, they broke the front line. Together they stood over the broken soil where the ship had burned into the earth. One final figure stepped out, taller than the rest. Its armor shifted like liquid metal, its eyes glowing red through the mask. It spoke no words, it simply raised a hand, and from behind it came a second voice, a copy of Eli's own voice. "We come for the bite," it said, in his exact tone. Eli stared, frozen for half a second. The machine had learned his voice, his shape, maybe even his mind. Rue growled louder. "That is not you," she said. "No," Eli whispered, tightening his grip, "but I'll show them who I am." Then he ran forward. Not just a human anymore, not prey, not visitor, not marked, but chosen. And behind him, the forest rose, the tribe ran, and the old world burned with new fire. The battlefield was silent now. Fires still burned between the trees, and black ash covered the glowing moss. The air smelled of smoke, blood, and something else, metal and sorrow. Eli stood with the broken staff in his hand. The glowing roots now dark. His breath was slow, steady, but each heartbeat echoed in his skull like a drum. Around him lay the remains of the fire and machines, cracked armor, shattered masks, empty suits melting into the soil. They were gone, but victory didn't feel like peace. Rue walked beside him, limping slightly. Her fur was marked with scratches and dried blood. She didn't smile, she didn't speak. Together, they walked toward the ship, half buried, half broken. One of the alien vessels had survived the crash, its black skin still pulsing faintly. Eli stepped inside, slow and cautious. No enemies, no sounds, just strange lights blinking on the walls. In the center was a tall crystal panel, glowing soft red. His face appeared on it, not a picture, but a perfect copy. Then it changed. His face became Rue's, then the elders, then the Blackford challengers. One by one, all the faces from the tribe, then they all melted into a single form, one that looked like both human and not. The ship had been watching, learning. Rue entered and placed a hand on the edge of the screen. It pulsed once, as if recognizing her. Eli turned to her, voice rough. "They weren't here for war." She nodded. "No, ... They came to take what they feared." He touched the side of his neck, the faint scar from when she bit him. "That started it," he said. "It changed you." She said, "It changed everything." Outside, the tribe gathered again, silent, waiting, not as soldiers, not as hunters, as witnesses. The elder stepped forward and dropped to one knee, placing a hand on the earth. Then the others did the same. Even the challenger. Rue looked at Eli, her eyes shining but unreadable. "You are not just marked," she said, "you are written." He blinked. "What does that mean?" She placed her hand on his chest, just over his heart. "It means the story cannot continue without you." The sky opened again, but this time, not with a ship. Light poured through the clouds, soft, golden, warm. A signal came through his old "come" unit, broken but still clinging to life. Human voices. "Eli Draven, do you read? We received your flare. Preparing recovery." He stared at the screen, frozen. Rue tilted her head. Waiting, he stepped outside, held up the device. "I'm here," he said, "but I may not be coming back." There was silence, then static. "Say again, Commander." He looked at the tribe, their eyes full of hope and fear, full of questions, full of change. Back on Earth, he was just one more soldier, one more number, but here he was Char, and something more. He lowered the Kumru, placed a curved object in his hand, a piece of bone shaped like a tooth, but glowing faintly. "It is your name now," she said. He turned it over. The carvings, simple but deep. One side was marked with her bite, the other with his. Eli looked at her, his voice almost a whisper. "Why did you bite me that day?" She paused, then answered, "Because I thought you were weak." He raised an eyebrow. "And why did you stay when I bit back?" She smiled, the first real smile since the sky burned. "Because you weren't." The forest behind them stirred as life slowly returned. The moss glowed again, the trees relaxed. The birds, strange and silver-winged, returned to the high branches. Eli turned to face the tribe, the elders, the young, the fighters and watchers. He didn't know how to speak their language fully yet, but he raised the bone symbol high and said one word, loud and clear: "Together." They answered, not with words, but with howls, clicks, growls, thunder, rolling through the trees. The old world was gone, but something new had begun. Not with war, not with fire, with a bite, and the bite that followed.